everyone, and welcome back to Episode Club. Today we are going to be talking Season 3, Episode 2, Dark Wings, Dark Words. And joining me today are actually the two leaders of the Cylon Johns, um, John St. Baptiste and Johnny B. Crazy. Um, and whichever John unmutes first gets to talk about
Oh,
themselves.
I thought it was dark beans, dark turds, but I could have been mistaken. No, thank you so much for having me, Kenzie. I just got off another stream with the Justin Thomas Show. We'll be on my channel tomorrow. Oh, with Top Shelf Fandom and Mackenzie doing Vikings, and I'll just throw that out there. That's about it. Uh, thank you for having me on. Go ahead,
Well,
John, with your Robert Smith self. Hello.
I guess my hair's getting kind of long. I am kind of getting that Robert Smith thing going on. Yeah, Kenzie, thank you so much for having me on for this episode. Like I told you before, this is one of my favorite episodes out of the entire series, and it's a quiet episode, but those are some of the best ones. And so I'm really stoked to talk about this for the next hour or so. And yeah, this is gonna be some good stuff.
yeah, we're kind of going on about
John St.
what.
Baptiste, by the way. I think I should probably say my name.
Yeah, I'll let them the description box, but this man is pretty much everywhere at this point. Um, but yeah, we're going on about a half an hour to about an hour than we normally do, um, barring the appearance of Johnny on Justin with Top Shelf Fandom's channel. But that doesn't deter the amount of fun that we'll have talking about this episode. So the first, I guess, scene that's in this episode, which is pretty much a lot of this episode in terms of what's next for this specific character, is Bran, and he is walking through a forest in his visions, in like a vision where he sees the three-eyed raven and attempts to essentially kill it. Um, but it's because he says that the raven, he means Jojen actually, and he says that the raven is you. But before then, he has this almost not conversation, but it's like this moment where he also sees these guys, or hears these two in the woods with him, which harkens back to, I think, the exact same words that were spoken in the season series premiere, which is "Don't think too much, Bran," and "Relax your bow arm." So, yeah, let's talk about this because he also then wakes up and Osha says everything that Bran sees and is involved with now is black magic. And pull up a picture. But yeah, that he's now involved in black magic. So, what were your thoughts when you first seeing this scene?
Who's going first? I'll go first real quick because it won't be long and I won't take John's thoughts, I swear. Even though Cylon brains are, connected, it's okay. Now, Bran Stark, we keep getting into these, uh, down into the green dreams, having more of the three-eyed raven, and I would argue that Bran can kill himself. But not in the dream sequence, as in Jojen. I like how they introduced him in the show, even though in the books they were at Winterfell before they left, if I'm not mistaken. And but I love the way they entered. I love how Osha showed her protective nature over the boys because she could have just left them at any point, but she actually loves she loves the kids. I mean, she's developed feelings for them, and she realized there's something going on bigger than herself. These dreams that she doesn't like to hear about, or tells him he's a fool. I think she knows deep down that they're real, and that kind of endears her to help him a little more. But she did also make a promise. So go ahead, John. I tend to ramble.
Oh, not at all. You struck on something that because when I first watched this episode, I was really disappointed towards the end of season 2 and the beginning of season 3 that they didn't introduce the Reeds. But I think the way they brought them in, I mean, I'm certainly not going to say it's better than the book, but for the medium of television, I think it worked really well to introduce their characters. So I did like that. Bran having his dreams, like, every episode where it shows some of his dreams and so forth coming up, uh, it keeps intensifying, and I like how it's kind of keeping you on the edge of your seat about uh, where his character arc is going to go. I mean, obviously, we've watched the entire series, so we know where his character arc is headed. But I think when it first came out, it was done really well. And yeah, the Osha being protective, it just shows her character development because if you recall, she was gonna rob at least and possibly kill Bran when she met him, and now her modus operandi is to defend him and protect him. And Bobby says she likes Jojen. Yeah, Bobby, I like Jojen too.
Very good points. I like Jojen paste, but that's just me.
Oh my god, Jojen paste. Bobby, you'll learn more about Jojen paste in the books. Yeah, the one thing about this is obviously we get a flash introduction to Jojen, and obviously Bran doesn't know who this character is, but um, he's, I guess, intrigued to know and understand. But the one thing that Jojen says to him is that you can't kill it because the raven is you, which is obviously implementing the fact that he is going to be the Three-Eyed Raven in about 6 seasons from now, or 6 seasons, 3 seasons from now, during season 5 into 6. And the fact that Osha calls it black magic and the introduction of black magic is kind of fun. Because I don't think Bran really wanted to delve into black magic, but just kind of given to him. And
the Raven, I just want to throw out the Raven as a key theme throughout this whole episode, I believe.
Yes, because there's ravens mentioned a few times by different characters. So, yeah, good stuff. And they're still on the mission for the wall, which is obviously evident. And then the next Bran scene that we have is them in the forest, and we see Osha protecting Bran with Summer, where ultimately they meet Bran meets the quote unquote physical forms of Jojen and Mira and all of them, all of those new characters that we're getting, and yeah.
Can I ask you a question about this scene? Summer's instant kind of bond with Jojen makes me think. I know everyone's heard the theory that children of the forest control these dire wolves, or at least the spirits of the children are in these dire wolves, and this seems to make sense. I don't think that the Three-Eyed Raven is warging Summer. I think it harkens back a little bit to the books, and I know they can't go that deep, but we do have children still alive, wound up in the roots underneath where Bloodraven is, and I don't remember what the tunnels are called underneath the damn tree, but it begs the question, how far the children have led them besides just Bloodraven. I think Bloodraven's kind of a cat's paw or a means to an end. But that's kind of my thoughts with that. Sorry.
John?
I think that's a good theory. How much of his contact with Bran is the three-eyed raven initiating on his own, and how much of it is influenced by the children of the forest who are like, taking care of him, hanging out with him, helping him grow into a tree. um, yeah, I think that's a really good point. Like, but no, I agree. I do not think he's warging Summer. I think, if anything, subconsciously Bran is warging Summer. It kind of, you know, hey, there's a threat, and the lady who's supposed to be protecting us isn't around now because she's like snuck off to see what this threat might be, and but yeah, then Shojin walks up and it's like, hey, sniff my hand, nice puppy.
Yeah, I just think about the Ravens when in the books, Bran went straight into the Ravens and all of the voices inside the Ravens that he had to basically kind of tune out and tamp down. That I wonder if the same thing's going on with the dire wolves, that they're basically the souls of children of the forest, which would make sense. Everything ties together in that way. It would be kind of beautifully poetic if that were the case. Go ahead, Southside Johnny B. Rambling. I'm a rambler, baby.
This part of the episode too is, I think, where they kind of obviously hint about who Jojen is and who his father is, but it's not until their next scene where they really divulge the association between the Reeds and the Stark family. But in this, you see how pretty badass Mira is, because she's the one that is carrying all of the spears and the knives and the tools, um, which is like her own. She's kind of like Arya in a sense, where she's like I get because is she the younger sister? I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, and Osha's the alpha female and doesn't like that, does she?
No, she's older than Jojen. She's a few years older than Jojen.
Yes, that would be right. It's just because the
she's 16 and he's 14, I want to say.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong.
Yeah. It's just because the actor never ages, so you're so confused. The actor who plays Jojen never ages, so you're very confused on whether who's the older one. But yeah, the fact that Osha puts the spear next to Jojen's neck and is like, "Don't move an inch, or I'll stab this through your neck. And if you kill me, Summer will attack you." But then, obviously, 6 seconds later, pretty much, Summer has completely calmed down, and she's not like this anymore, which is kind of funny. But it's starting, I think, for Bran, this really epic journey that he's about to go on, and about to really discover who he is, and kind of almost by slight default, not default, but based off how George wrote the books, Bran was his first chapter. So the fact that this story is happening to one of the first characters ever written is pretty cool, and especially for a disabled character in fantasy to go on this epic journey is kind of a cool thing. And as I ramble, the last, I guess, set of scenes that we have with this lot is them all, I guess, going to the wall, and this is where they discuss the connection between the Reeds and the Starks, warging, and how pretty much they need Bran needs as much protection as possible during this journey. Yeah.
Is this where Jojen says he's the only thing that matters? Can't remember if this is the.
I think so.
Yeah, don't you wish they? I'll let you go first, John. Don't you wish they would have went more into this warging and green dreams? Because it doesn't cost that much cinematically to have a dream sequence. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I agree. One of my biggest things, actually, Sasuke pointed this out. Like, in the transition from the book to the show, the oath was lost. which I thought was, you know,
Ooh,
as she
good
pointed
shot.
out, it was such a just big, powerful moment in the book, and that being lost. I mean, yeah, it's, um, yeah, the Green Dreams. I'm glad that they didn't do a whole lot of it because I think it would have just entirely taken over the episode. But I do agree with you that they could have gone into it a little bit more. And I just have to say, Mira Reed, oh my gosh, book and show, one of my favorite characters ever.
I'm a fanboy. Reed's might be my favorite
Yeah,
house, but go
yeah.
ahead.
Oh, well, Jojen's kind of like just this weird, creepy kid, but Mira Reed, yeah, I'm a huge fanboy too. Yeah, you know, I'd definitely go ahead and see if I could arrange a betrothal with my son, Amir Reed.
Yeah,
Isn't one thing they note, Kenzie, doesn't Jojen say that his father doesn't talk about the war much anymore, that
his
Howland doesn't talk about the war much?
he said his father never talked about the war,
Ah,
and that he found out through his warging abilities and going into the past. That's how he found out about it, was going into the past and warging things that were from the past, I guess. He's like, "Oh, your father told you about it, while mine didn't say much about it at all." But I think in the book, I thought in the book they like say that um, Helen did mention it, some bits to it, because isn't it a later scene in this season? I think where they talk about stuff about the war. I think. I'm
yeah,
not
and you
sure.
have the Mystery Night.
Yeah, in this episode, you know, they Jojen says that his dad cried when he told him that he had that dream about Ned dying. And he also says that his father didn't like to talk about the war.
Mhm. Yeah. Um, there's like a few comments about that actually in the chat. Like Ben says, yeah, it bothered me because it was totally different from the source. Even Marin knew about it from Howland. Yeah, because they talk about that. And Sussex says his green dreams taught him everything, but their dad told them all about the tourney at Harrenhal. And then Ben just said, yeah, the night of the laughing tree. Yeah, I don't think it was the tourney, not the tourney, Tower of Joy stuff. It was the tourney at Harrenhal. That's I think what we're confusing it with a little bit is not necessarily the war aspect, but the stuff before the war, meaning the tourney at Harrenhal and all the crap that went with the tourney at Harrenhal. Johnny, did you want to say something?
Kind of. It's interesting in the fact of the show that Eddard told Bran and them more of the war, and in the show, Mira and Jojen didn't hear any of the war, but they know about the Night of the Laughing Tree, and Bran doesn't know that story, which a lot of people think the Night of the Laughing Tree could be Lyanna, it could be Howland Reed, uh, maybe one other person. In the show, I think it's hinted at being Howland Reed, if I'm not mistaken. But I do like the idea of it being Lyanna at some point. But that's some
I,
tinfoil.
I think it's
I've never had a question. I'm sorry, Mackenzie, I cut you off. I apologize.
I think it's just more credence to it being Liana, because it was someone who because if the mythology, if my memory of the mythology is correct, it's that she saved Howland from a bunch of squires beating him up, and then later on, it's like
Yep.
later in the tourney, he the person was unhorsed. I can't remember which great fighter, but the unhorsed one, and then the knife of the laughing tree couldn't be found. But then I think Rhaegar went into the woods and never spoke of who that person was.
Yep.
I think so. It wouldn't. I don't know if it was Howland. If that's what it was, I think it would probably be because it was Lyanna. But
Yeah, I just think in the show they try to hint at it being. I don't know what they try to hint at it being in the show, because if it is Lyanna, they didn't go anywhere with it like I think they should have. But yeah, I know you wanted to scream, John.
Oh no, you're. If I remember correctly, it was 3 squires.
yes,
I'm not positive, but I think it was 3 squires, and the Knight of the Laughing Tree unhorsed all of their knights who they served, and asked them to chastise their squires.
Yep,
The
that's
only
it.
reward, never took off her helm, and then went into the like I have always taken it as a given that it was Lyanna. I've never had a question about it. Like, to me, that's not tinfoil. I think there are so many clues and hints given
Yeah.
that I think it's like, yeah, okay, it was Lyanna.
that almost.
The
Okay.
booming voice, the boom of her voice, the way it sounded like someone was trying to make a deeper voice when they made the voice, the way it's written. Yeah, I definitely. But it makes you wonder too, if that story is true. What did she encounter the Green Men? Did her and Rhaegar encounter anything on the Isle of Faces? Because that story is kind of intertwined, is it not? No, 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 no.
I
That's
think
Colin Reed went to the Isle of Faces, right?
Yeah, I think she and Rhaegar
There we go. My bad.
encountered each other, but we should
You don't
probably
think
keep
they
this
had a
PG.
they had a Green Man Roman orgy?
Oh god.
Next, I'll be quiet now.
I know.
Sasuke actually has a good point. They don't talk about the tourney at Harrenhal at all on the show, but they put in the bonus history on the DVDs.
They
So
don't mention.
this is kind of book only stuff.
And my memory's getting conflated as hell.
But who knows? They may have a flashback scene in season 8. Imagine if they have like just a moment where it's like not just that specific scene in general, but the tourney scene. I get maybe, who knows? Because a lot of, I guess, the show watchers don't really know the mythology behind like Rhaegar and Lyanna as a couple in the beginning, because all they know of is that now that they just fell in love, but like how is the question. But this begs the question: if she is the Knight of the Laughing Tree, does Jon get his fighting strength from his mother instead of his father? Because that was a big thing that.
Well, Jon's not that good a fighter, anyways. He's an adequate fighter. I would say he might not be even as good a fighter as Rhaegar, honestly. In the books. Now, in the show, they've upped his ante a little bit, but I would say Jon's an above-average fighter. But he's special in other ways. That's why I like Jon in the books. He's not just some dude that can beat the shit out of everyone. He has real problems and real issues he has to deal with when it comes to combat, and he has to adapt a lot like Arya does, because Jon isn't physically huge or imposing, even in the books. He's tall and slender, but yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, rambling again.
No, it's fine.
No. Actually, Mackenzie, if I can just diverge a little bit, I have a question I'd like to ask both of you and the chat, if that's okay. In that, and it's something that just occurred to me, but in that transition from book to show, like, yes, things are changed and all this. If you reread the books, can you picture Ned Stark as anybody but Sean Bean?
Not anymore. Hell no. I see his face everywhere.
Because I read the books first, and I had my own picture of, and that's just a character I'm throwing out there, let alone all the other characters in the show. But I had my own picture in my head. But after watching the show, Like it totally changed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I was just curious.
yeah, because I was a show watcher first, because I caught the show live at the end of the season, when season 5 was ending. So then after, when it was that long break, is when I listened to all the books on audio. Um, so yeah, it's pretty much just Sean Bain was like the only person.
Right. Like
And I
for
think
example, like I can't read One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest without picturing Jack Nicholson. Like it's the same type of thing. And I had read it before I watched it, but now that I've watched One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, like yeah, it's Jack Nicholson. It that's that picture. I sorry, I'm totally
I
derailing.
can't think Hunter S. Thompson without thinking Johnny Depp.
Exactly.
I think
Kawasaki.
yeah, I think even now, in like the anniversary like editions of like a Game of Thrones and stuff, like when they get to those pivotal moments in the books, even the art I think is pretty much resembling of the characters that are now the actors in the show now. Um, so it's kind of funny. Um, any more thoughts on Bran and Jojen and Hodor and Mira and Osha
Hodor.
and Rickon for this chunk? Because that's where we leave them, is just going to the wall.
Hodor.
No, I think that's good. I think we summed it up. I probably went a little too deep. Let's do it.
Ben makes up a really good
He
comment
makes
about
up a really good comment. Yeah, Ben's always making shit up.
makes a really good comment about Val, which we can talk about John and them next, unless we want to talk about Rob and his wife, who's implicating herself even more and more into the "I'm a spy" camp. Um, where do we want to go? Which brother of Bran do we want to talk about? His bastard-born brother, or his
We can
full-on
go
brother?
to John for now, since we kind of touched on him a little bit and his parents anyway. Um, we get to see our first actual warg in Norel. And I thought this was pretty cool. Also just Sam and Mormont, their whole surviving the battle, and Ras being taken in charge of Sam's life, being put in charge of Sam's life. I think that's very ironic and fitting for him. And John kind of starting to see the wildlings for who they really are, that they're just people, that they just want to survive, that Mance Rayder does not want power. Mance Rayder just wants safety for him and his people. And I really think in the small scenes we see here, we really get a good sense of that. I think it's really quick, to the point, but very impactful scenes in this episode. And I'll let John gush about those pouty lips of the other John. And there's 3 Johns.
Yeah.
3 Johns. Yeah, I've been told I'm just another John quite a few times, but we won't go into that. I think this is the moment, and you find these things out later, but to your point, I think this is the moment when John starts realizing, like, all this propaganda he's been fed growing up as a Stark and then becoming a man of the Night's Watch. Like, wildlings are just people, and that's what's most important to them, is surviving. Like he's really starting to get that. I think this is one of the episodes where he does a whole lot of growing up, and I really like that. I mean, it doesn't click right away, but he's starting to get it. And you know, man, it's just freaking awesome. I think this is one of the best casting jobs on a show that did so much great casting. I think that he plays that character very well. Because he's brutal and cutthroat, and if he needs to be, but like what he really cares about is his people surviving. And like you said, I mean, he doesn't want to be the king beyond the wall just to have power. He wants to be the king beyond the wall because he's like, hey, we need to GTFO. Like, there's some scary shit going down, and we need to GTFO. And yeah, I and yeah, John's very good with his pouty lips in this episode. It's not the best pout. Like on the pout scale, I'll give it like a 7.5. He pouts better in a few episodes, but he pouts pretty well in this one.
Yeah, the pout scale. Oh my gosh, pouty lip scale. But going back to the comment that Ben said, because yeah, in the last episode, in the premiere of season 3, we talked about how they didn't have Val in this season / this entire show. But he says that I still say that the only reason they didn't bring Val into the show is because they couldn't find an actress good enough looking and fierce enough. Yeah, I think if they had brought in Val, it would have been a really cool turn that they did for John's character. Because not only does he have Ygritte that he's sort of kind of pining after in this, but that Val, the Wildling Princess, if she was in this, how different that sort of storyline would have went. Yeah, because
Can I ask
go ahead.
John what his thoughts are? Do you think they mix Val and Danny together? And do you think they'll have any bearing in the future? Like they mix Vagon and John together. Do you think it's
Right.
possible? Because I feel like they may have done that. And
Yeah.
kind of we haven't seen it. I think I've heard someone point it out, but I can't remember who. But it's got me wondering. Yeah, I got to look into it, but I wanted to throw that out to you while I had you on there.
No. I can see where you're coming from there. That's a really good point because, like I've said before, condensing things into a tele show from a book, it obviously you're gonna have to condense some characters, and I've never thought about it that way. Like you just kind of blew my mind. Like I'm gonna have to digest that. But my immediate thought is, yeah, they actually have brought some of that into her character for Danny, which we all know how much I love Danny. I mean, almost as much as I love Catelyn Stark. But
You better get off my perfect princess.
Oh man. Yeah.
She's
Yeah,
definitely a princess.
Most definitely, like Val could be replaced in the show as Danny in a sense, but Sasuke brings up the point of they didn't do Val because they didn't do Dahlia and the baby swap. Like the fact that because they didn't bring up Val, then they couldn't bring up Mance Rayder's wife, which they could have just brought up Mance Rayder's wife, and that would have been an easy thing because you show her for 5 seconds and then don't show her for another like 5 episodes and then
Just like
do the
Selyse.
baby swap. Yeah, exactly. Like you could easily do Mance Rayder's wife. Val would have been an interesting prospect. I can't remember much of her character in the books because it's been like 2.5 years since I've read the books. I'm almost finished the first one, but yeah, I would have just thought that her character at this point, if John would had to have 2 women sort of not competing, but like, after his affections, like that would have been a funny storyline for him to go down, especially since he's a Stark, a Stark and also Night's Watch recruit. But the next sort of part, which is rightly connected after John and Wildlings and my one last point is when John meets with Aurel in this sequence, I feel like he will be much more understanding of what Bran is going into season 8, because he's dealt with a warg before, so he'll kind of understand what Bran means when he's like inside of a bird and like Bran's actions and stuff and knowing things and seeing things. Yeah, that was my main point about that, was just
Great point.
John,
I remember.
and Aurel.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier. Great point.
Yeah, John kind of understand because he's dealt with the wildlings and with Aurel. So when Bran's like, "Hello, John," like he was like, and not like the little kid that he left 8 years ago, pretty much. That he'll have a better understanding of who Bran is. But yeah, that was my last point on that. Sessek.
No, agreed.
Sessek.
That's a bloody good point.
Mm-hmm.
I think it kind of it opens the door for him to be able to deal with that on a rational level, because he's like, oh, I've been around this type of person before. I can understand it. It's it yeah. Uh, I'm having trouble putting my thoughts into words here, but yeah, I agree with you, Kenzie. That's a hell of a point.
Because when I was thinking about it, I was like, yeah, like, because there's that whole thing of John and dealing with warg before. It was not until this episode actually that this thought came to my mind of just John dealing with a warg in Aurel for like what. This is the second episode he's around until like episode 9, so dealing with him for about 7 episodes, and that in this timeline is probably like a couple months. So, yeah. The last, I guess, John bit for this comment, which is actually a good point, is that John not being a warg in this, which, I don't know, too many wargs, too little time, I guess. But they kind of just gave all the warg stuff really to Bran, which I'm not too pissed about, but it's kind of like, darn it.
Well, there are no wargs. It's like wargs are extinct at this point. Because Bran isn't a warg. He isn't he is the three-eyed raven. A green seer just has green dreams, if I'm not mistaken. Or, I don't know. They're two separate things, but Bran is both. So we don't actually have any representation of a warg, which I think is kind of sad. Because they could have did a little bit with Arya, just the dreams. Like, that's what I mean with the dreams. They could have just did a little bit to kind of at least have a nod to it, because that's a huge thing with Jon's character, is that he is such a powerful warg. And Aurel realizes it immediately. Varamir Sixskins realizes it immediately upon seeing Jon, and Jon doesn't even know how powerful he is. So, yeah, I do hate that, but it's a lot to keep up with. Could have been confusing to casual viewers as well. So,
then my only like real thought about Sam and all of this is Sam has good people around him, while his BFF, Jon Snow, is now gone on his mission in sort of Gren and Ed, even though they did leave him in the last in the season finale of season 2.
they couldn't carry him, and well, shit, what are they gonna do?
Yeah, they couldn't really carry him, but they were sympathetic, and they just kind of decided, hey, we'll help you. And but then when Rast has to be in charge of Sam and like keeping Sam there, it's just kind of funny. Especially with Gior's offhanded comment of, well, if he doesn't show up again, it's your fault, and you'll have died as well. But we know that Rast ultimately meets his demise at some point, and Sam still lives, so it's kind of funny. And there's the old bear for old time's sake. But go ahead, whoever one has a thought on this sequence?
Oh, I think it's pretty well summed out right there. In the books, it's a lot more complex what's going on in this situation. I understand them compacting it down. Uh, I don't know. I feel like they could have did more with this, but I do like the symbolism here. Sam is still uh, transforming into becoming a man, or the man that he's supposed to be, Sam the Slayer. Yes, he will trip on a tree root and kill the Night King with Heartsbane in season 8. Yeah, just my funny tinfoil theory. But I do like it. Grin and Ed do have care for Sam. They're real brothers of the Night's Watch, and we see Rast, who is not a real brother. In the books, he was about to kill them anyway in their sleep before the horns blew, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't know. I like that scene. You summed it up very well. So.
Thank you.
I forbid you to die, Samuel Tarly.
Yeah.
That's one of the most awesome lines in the entire series. I forbid you to die. Like, yeah. Oh, I wish Mormon had lived a little longer. I mean,
I know, right?
Kill your darlings, right?
That actor, man.
Yeah. Oh gosh, yes. Gosh, yes. What was his name? If anybody knows, throw it out in the chat.
I'm usually really good at the actor names, but this one I just over my head. Yeah, we have that. Which now sibling do we want to go off now? Do we want Rob, or do we want Arya, or do we want Sansa?
What about Theon's fun time at Chuck E. Cheese for a brief couple minutes?
Sure, we'll talk about Mr. Theon Greyjoy. Kind of the setup for Theon comes with Rob stuff. That's okay. But Theon has basically been captured by the Boltons, and he's kind of been captured by the Boltons, and he's experiencing some, I guess, Bolton family traditions, and by being flayed, not kind of flayed, but not skinned, and tortured. I can't remember for what at this point. It's time's escaped me, but yeah, he's getting some spa treatments or family values. But yeah, go ahead. I'm rambling.
Well, Ramsay was supposed to take care of Theon, and at this point, I'm pretty sure it's just Ramsay torturing Theon for Theon. But we don't know who the hell Ramsay is at this point. Theon squeals like a pig. Movie reference intended. If you haven't seen Deliverance, watch it. It'll scare you forever. You'll never go to Georgia. And he tells everything he knows and still gets tortured. That shows the brutality of what's happening. Do we even know he's at the Dreadfort right now? I don't think it really indicates, does it? It's kind of left.
Yeah, I think that the note that Rob gets is that Theon has taken Winterfell, that they burned it to the ground. No, that Roos's bastard has taken Winterfell and that it's been burned to the ground. So there's no thing about Theon, because Catelyn does mention, is there any word from Theon? Is there any what's it called? Ransom from Theon? And I think anyways, there.
Yeah, I'm sure he was used to get information out of, and Roose probably wanted as much information as he could get out of Theon, and that's kind of where we're left at this point. I don't know. It's kind of funny because we do see him, Ramsay, kind of come unbind his feet, and your sister's coming for you, and all this crap. So we see the mind game starting, and I'm actually not really looking forward to rewatching this because it's going to be hard. But it's a must, and I will stop ranting because this is just a short scene of the Bolton family values.
Bolton family values. Go ahead, John.
Oh, the scene's brilliant because you spent most of the second season learning to hate Theon Greyjoy. You spend most of the first season just like, oh, he's just this dumb kid who thinks with his dick. And you spend most of the second season like, oh my gosh. And this is that point, this is that character who has like, I at least in my eyes, the biggest redemption arc. And I've also, I've made it clear. I think Alfie Allen's one of the best actors on this show. And so much is done with so little in the scene. It's or these two scenes, I guess. It's just great. It just hones in on that St. Andrew's cross. And he's like strung up on that St. Andrew's cross, and like you just know, you're like, oh my gosh. And there's that part of you that's like, well, Theon's a horrible person. He, did this. But then you see this happening to him, and you really start sympathizing with him, whether you want to or not. And then the way freaking Ramsay Bolton comes in for, oh, here, let me help you. The psychological torture is just it worse than the physical torture. It's like it's one of those things you don't want to love, but you have to love how well it's done. It's creepy and it's gross and it's unfortunate, and I could come up with like 90 adjectives, but yeah, it's some pretty powerful stuff.
Yeah, this is almost Theon starting what would be becoming his Reek transformation, which in some ways it's like, yes, it's warranted, but then in other ways it's like, can be a little bit not forced. It's a little bit too much. But hey, it's HBO and it's Game of Thrones, so violence is kind of expected. But yeah,
and that's how medieval torture is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you want something that'll really freak you out? Look up the Iron Pair.
Mm-hmm.
This is actually pretty soft core for a lot of medieval torture.
Yeah.
The things the Inquisition did, wow, like, yeah, the Boltons are a little softcore when it comes to their BDSM torture.
Yeah, they do a fine job at being crazy. Yeah, we're kind of left Theon just like him, just having a bag over his head with a few more holes than he had before. Do we want to talk? Who do we want to talk now?
Wait, you want to go to Rob or what? It's up to you.
So basically what happens with Rob and all of this storyline is that we see Rob has made it to Harrenhal. They're still in Harrenhal, and that there's news from two locations, good and bad news, from two locations, and that pretty much we have Winterfell being burnt to the ground, but also that that the Boltons have like captured Winterfell, but also that Grandpa is now dead. Hoster Tully has died, so they're trying to figure out what to do and there's fears that Brenna and Rickon have been dead because they didn't ever get the notice that Theon burnt them in season 2. And Catelyn's just an emotional mess because her father is now dead, and she does not know if her 2 youngest sons are now dead, but she didn't really care about them 2 seasons ago, so why is she caring about them now? Who knows? But yeah. Let's talk about this a little bit.
I'll give my short and curlies on this. You want?
Sure.
All right. So at this point, you can tell a lot of Rob's Bannermen may have lost faith. Could the wedding have did this? Yes. The taking of Winterfell did this? Yes. I think a bunch of things combined. I think they know Walder Frey better than Rob seems to know Walder Frey. It seems like everyone else knows Walder Frey besides Rob. No one's letting him in on it, and Kat's trying to her credit at this point. And Karstark, he's already given up on winning. He just wants revenge. He doesn't think they can win. He doesn't outright say it, but basically states that he doesn't think they can win at this point, that he just wants revenge for his dead son. And it's kind of disheartening. You see Rob's demise right here if you're paying attention, even though you don't really want to see it. And the fact that he can't go anywhere without Talissa just rubs it more into the Northern Lord's face. This points towards what the hell Jon's gonna do when he brings Dany to Winterfell. He's gonna make the same mistake, because this is one of the mistakes that Rob made that led to his downfall. And we know Jon's not gonna have a downfall. They're not setting him up for this, so he's gonna have to play some type of political game. Even if he is in love with Dany, they're gonna have to figure some way not to flaunt it in the face of the Northern Lords, because it's not going to go over well. But other than that, I'll let Jon gush on it for a bit.
Go ahead, Jon.
Okay, so I got to get my 2 funnies out for this episode. One, Rob pouts better than Jon in this episode. I mean, I'll give that. Kenzie put the picture up a couple of minutes ago. Like, I'll give that like 9.5 Jon Snow pouts. It's a really good pout. No, not that one. The one before it, where he's
looking into the fire or something.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, that was quite the pout. It was quite the pout. Second, I mean, I have to say it. I try to. Yeah, that's the picture. I try to every episode that she's in. Catelyn Stark. Great mom or greatest mom? Because...
Oh, man. Well...
I mean, you have the moment where she's like, oh, I feel so bad because I wanted the baby to die, and I really just hated his mom, blah, blah, blah. But, yeah, like Jen pointed out, or no, I'm sorry, it was you, Kenzie, who pointed it out. She left her kids there. She didn't take care of them. She ignored Rickon to take care of Bran, and then she goes south on her little crusade. And but yeah, this is the scene. I think Johnny put it best. It's almost like a Greek tragedy. From this moment that Rob's gonna die. You don't want him to, but you know it's going to happen. You know he's going to reap what he sowed. And, in Greek tragedy, they have a lot of that, where you can watch the downfall and collapse of this character who you're built up to love. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, thinking with his dick. And then, you got the You know, if the Karstarks are backing out, like they're not just your bannermen; they're like
They're
your
kin.
family. Yeah,
Yeah, they're like
they're like your
Packer
family.
like
I mean,
cousins.
granted, Lord Karstark's about as smart as a fucking box of rocks, but it,
Well, I mean, they're
even he
half
realizes it.
Neanderthal, I think. Isn't that what it says in the lineage? I'm joking.
Well, Talissa did say that her mother, because we completely kind of skipped over this, but Talissa says that my mother said this and this and this about your people and how pretty much you and all of this stuff, like how the Northerners are like barbarians and all of that. And she would faint pretty much if she knew that her daughter married a barbarian and all this stuff. It's like,
Don't know what the hell a lady is, though.
yeah, but you don't know what a lady is. And
John, it's adding up, bro.
yeah, and house. Yeah, it's like you're from the west, from the east, but you know so much about what's it called, Westeros. And I took this screenshot specifically for these two because it's as soon as Roose Bolton pulls out those two letters and hands them pretty much to Robb that she stares at him, like gives him the side eye, like, shit, is this one of my letters? So it's like, ooh, I don't know, but it's pretty sketchy because she's infamous for writing letters, and the fact that this is information that she might have already figured out / known.
She does look slightly concerned there. Or she just loves the way the back of Robb's head looks.
But I told you before, Johnny, like I had never really considered her as a spy, but you, in the last episode we all did together, you made some points to me that like you're starting to get me over on your side of the fence.
Well, also Varys said the only way to keep someone like that silent is to silence them, and so did Littlefinger. He did the same thing with Dantos. So,
Three people can keep a secret if two of them are dead.
And
Ben Franklin said that.
Yeah, because there's no telling what she could have got out of it. But hey.
Okay, Bobby threw out her
subwoofers.
Bannermen equals subwoofers.
Oh my god. That's... Jesus.
Perfect, Bobby.
Well, too, because she does end up getting pregnant, she can't just like be a spy that lives, because she'd be carrying the heir to the north, essentially at this point. So they obviously had to kill her off, and yeah, if she is a spy, the one credence is that she does get killed off. But hey, if you're a spy and you end up getting pregnant by the enemy, essentially, that you must also die too, because
no one can threaten Bolton's crown.
Bolton.
So if we're going to theorize about this, so was she Roose's spy or was she the Lannister spy?
There's either, well, because she shows up when they're really fighting against just the Lannisters.
She's tending to a Lannister when she's found. So I would think she's Tywin spy. And that she knows she's in, right here from this picture, she knows that Tywin's in league with Roose at this point. That's why she may be worried about these letters. Maybe Roose has changed his mind because she's not privy. Because it seems as though Tywin is getting inside information about Robb's movements after the battle at Ashford. Is it Ashford?
I think so, yes.
It seems like after that he's starting to get a lot of words of their movements. And when he's receiving letters, it seems like the same episode Talissa's writing letters. I don't think it's a coincidence. And yeah, he would have her killed off immediately. No doubt. That child would be a threat, and her living would be a threat as well at that point. Yeah, just got to silence him then. But the child's more than likely why she was killed.
Yeah. If she somehow didn't get herself pregnant, then maybe she could have been a survivor, but because then that, if she didn't obviously get pregnant, then that would, I guess, solidify um, her spyness. But because she is killed, it's like it's left up in the air. Ben makes a point of he steals her from a Lannister soldier, just like Tyrion stole Shae, Talisa and Shae, both foreigners, both Tywin's spies. Very true.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I feel like Shay is Varys's right now. I think she does turn to Tywin or Cersei once she finds out, but right now I feel like she's been Varys's since Varys got to her with the fish pie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that it's right now. She's under Varys's wing as one of Varys's little birds, but it's until um, Joffrey and Marjorie's wedding rehearsal is that when she obviously switches to Tywin's side. But yeah. Next with because the next part of this sequence is that Catelyn pretty much says that once Jon was brought to Winterfell when he was a baby, she basically wished that he would die, and that because she didn't fulfill her promise on saying, "Well, I'll ask Ned to name him a Stark, and we'll be a happy family," is basically her now comeuppance many, many years later. But she also says that she was jealous of Jon's mother. So was Kat like technically jealous of Lyanna Stark, even though she does not even know that it's Lyanna Stark? Who knows? But
The Greyjoys are treasonous whores, and Ashara Dane, I hate that woman. That's my Catelyn impersonation. If you don't like it, you can frack off. No, I just wanted to throw that out there. I have this is when I really, really started to hate Catelyn. Really hated her. This right here showed who she was. The fact that she could admit her wrongdoing is a good thing. Other than that, I give her no credit other than being honest. At least she could admit it. I give her respect for that, but it does not make me like her. I just have much disdain for her for this. Right? How can you not love a dying and sick child? Even
I think it was.
Well, she wished
he died, and then he got sick, and then that's when she repented her sins of wanting him to die.
Well, she still never loved him, though. That's what I mean. Throughout the whole time, she even talked about, I had to hear him wheezing with disgust. I mean, it just made me want to ask Brienne to kick her in the mouth because I don't hit women. So, unless Starbuck wants to fist fight, then I'll go with that. But no, I like the nod to the faith of the seven and that she was making the totem, the prayer totem. I thought that was cool. Talisa's curiosity is intriguing as well. But Jon, if you're ready to take over, you can. Johnny B rambled some more, and Johnny B feisty, Bobby. That's right. But no, I think in the books, Shae is more Tywin spy, but in the show, I feel like she's more Varys's. But see, we're just trying to have more fun while we're rewatching the show, and whether it's true or not, I don't think has any fucking bearing on the outcome. Go ahead, Jon.
Well, I started hating Catelyn. As you know, I read the books before I saw the show, but I started hating Catelyn when Rob calls her out on just totally ignoring Rickon.
Bad parenting.
So this just like drove the nail in the coffin. I mean, yeah, she's not a good person. She's a very poor decision maker. But on top of that, she's just like really not a good person. Like, yeah, like Johnny was saying, like you want a kid to die, really? Like, WTF? It seriously, I
Yeah.
and yeah, she's sewing her little prayer wheel or whatever the Frackett is, and it. Why is she out of jail for one thing?
Yeah, I think it's because they
Like-
were in camp. In a camp.
She should basically at least be doing that with hempen rope tied around her wrist.
Yeah, it'd be a little bit harder
mean-
for her to make her stupid thing, whatever she's making, if she was in chains. That's a
No,
good point, though.
she should be in the brig. By the way,
Yeah.
Johnny, you'd punch Starbuck in the face. I mean, seriously, I thought we were friends.
No, I mean if
So-
she wanted to go a few rounds, I'd go a few rounds with Starbuck. I meant it in
Oh
a.
no, I was referring to myself as Starbuck.
Oh well, yeah, we can duke it out. I'm sure we can find a ring or something at con. Bring some
Fist
MMA
bumps.
mats.
Um,
I use my legs too, though. So
yeah. The,
I'd just be lost. I wouldn't know what to do.
poke you in the eyes with my big toe.
with just my last kind of few points on this is Catelyn wishing an innocent child to die, even though it should technically, even though it's like, would think she'd be more mad at Ned than anything than to be mad at a child who had no actual decision in this actually happening. And I feel like I don't know if they'll have time for it because I don't know if they ever casted for it. But they could most definitely have like a scene where young Ned comes to Winterfell with Jon, and we see Catelyn almost have this sort of situation where she just like turns cloak and just runs back, and hides, and goes to see Robb. Like we could have that kind of scene, especially if there is this maybe ending where Jon has to have his own child come to Winterfell or something, like is like a scene where there is another child like this that just comes and I don't know, like comes back into a picture where obviously it wasn't meant to be there or something. I don't know. It would just reiterate like who Catelyn was and how pretty much her daughters will have to right the wrongs that she did in a sense by like loving Jon and loving children that are from their family or something. That, anyways, I'm rambling. I can talk about this after.
Well, no, you didn't answer my question though. Catelyn Stark, great mom or greatest mom?
The
She's
bestest ever.
she needs an award put around her neck, a medallion that goes
She needs
around
something
A
put around
Dundee
her neck.
Award.
a Dundee. Yes, she needs a Dundee award.
Office reference.
Ottila mentions a really good comment, which it's kind of true. Not loving an innocent child is what really turned her into Lady Stoneheart, a heart of stone. Yeah. Kind of.
I think she was becoming a better, kinder, gentler person, and that's why she became Lady Stoneheart.
Yeah.
Because she was, it was a step on her path to becoming a decent human being.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Lady Stoneheart was a step up from Catelyn Tully.
Yeah, and she better thank Arya for pulling her from the river, because I honestly believe Arya will be the one to kill Lady Stoneheart in the books. I'll elaborate on that theory later. She's the one that saved her. She'll be the one to have to kill her because she's defying the many-faced God in every sense of the word. But yeah, I have to research that, but I've been thinking that for a couple of weeks now, and I think that would be pretty fucking cool if they pulled that off, because it would go back
I'm
around
looking
to the
forward
Ghost
to
of
this.
High Heart. Oh yeah. Yeah.
I'm very much looking forward to this. I like that theory. This is the first time I've heard you mention it, but that sounds awesome. I'm looking forward to your, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's a good thing. Speaking of Arya, do we want to talk about her and the boys that she's traveling with and who she ends up meeting on her ways, because this is kind of in the same area.
Ange, Tomo Sevens. I don't think Tomo Sevens is there. And I wish we had some Lemon Club, but no. Thoros of Mir, and it's easy to forget that he won the melee at the hands tournament, because good gosh, how could that guy win a melee? He's like the drunken master. Uh, that flaming sword does throw everyone off, I guess. Uh, I'm not sure if in the show he actually won the melee. Did they say? Yeah, in the show, I think they said he won the melee.
I think they did, or they made reference to someone winning, but that's been now so long ago. I'm just, even though it was like what, a couple weeks ago, I just can't remember.
Again, pisses me off how he died. He's another one that got a bad ending, just as bad as Barristan Selmy. Because I'm sorry, the Red Priest, crazy ass Thoros of Mir, was a bad man, and he didn't get to show any of that. And I really do hate this. I love his interactions with Arya, how tough Arya is, and you can see that she's made of stone. But on done, and at this point, I think they're already thinking about combining the two characters, because I don't think they were gonna ever do Lady Stoneheart, if I'm not mistaken. So you see a lot of symbolism here with how she acts. She's, her being in Harrenhal. She There's a lot of hints there that she's harboring some horrible feelings. But I love how this plays out, how accurate Ange is. He makes Theon look like a bitch at archery. But yeah, that's about all I have to say. I'll let John speak some, because I'm an asshole. Oh, I like
You're not an asshole, my friend.
Just whip me and give me a ball gag. I'm good to go.
Oh, you're calling me an asshole? A ball gag, really? Like you want the St. Andrew's cross too, like Theon? I mean, hey, at the end of the day, we all have our kinks, right? Thoros of Mir. Oh my gosh, yeah. The casting. This is another character. It was spot on, dude. I want to go out on the town with Thoros of Mir and like Nero. That would be that would be such a fun night. I might not survive. I might not remember it if I do survive, but that'd be a fun night. But no, like this character, when you first meet him, he's just this, degenerate or whatever, and you meet him now, and he's. I like that they didn't clean him up entirely. Like he still likes his wine or rum, I think it is, and he's still but he's I think for me he's one of the most intriguing characters because he changes, but he doesn't change a whole lot. And yes, I entirely agree with you. Outside of Barristan Selmy, it was the most ignominious bad death in the entire series. I was quite disappointed with that. But yeah, Arya's, I mean, she's got some stones, and it really starts showing in this episode. I think this is, because I remember this moment in the books, and it's like this is when she stops being Weasel. She quit calling herself that, but she still was that. And I think it's kind of the same thing. Like, this is when she's like, no, I'm gonna stand.
Yeah, she faces them more head on, right?
That's it. Aye. Which is gonna make her an awful assassin, by the way. Got to be sneaky.
Can I just say I just thought of something? She literally confessed to the murder of every person of House Frey in season 7
Yep.
and left people alive.
Until
What the
10.
hell, man? No way Jockin's not going to be mad about that. I didn't even think about that. How she basically confessed to everything, told the person who she was, I'm Arya Stark of Winterfell, and then just takes off. Everybody knows Arya killed every single one of the Freys. This as well could have some interesting connotations, especially with Jaime's point of view.
Right. But you do have to remember how delicious Frey pie is.
Well, I mean, she could at least take the toenail off, man. That shit was
Yeah.
fucked up.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
I
think
thought
it was-
that's what I thought that's what made it great. But
I think that was mostly just so the audience could recognize that was some sort of like appendage, like that. Yeah, that still probably had bones in it. I don't know. Because we can kind of talk about the other part of Arya's scene, which is just them in the tavern, where Hot Pie kind of just stays. I think this is where Hot Pie just stays after a while, and they're having meal, and they all have Castle Forge steel. There's questions about how they all have Castle Forge steel. Comes up that it's been in Harrenhal. Gendry doesn't lie in this situation. He says this is who he's apprenticed under, Topalt Malt. And then eventually, the Hound shows up, and he says, "What are you doing with the Sark bitch?" And it's kind of where we end with Arya. Man, like so now we get this is the seedlings of what will be Arya and the Hound buddy cop duo adventures, and can't wait.
BFFs for life, yo. The Odd Couple reincarnate, and I'll let John take this one since I've been a blabbermouth asshole. Sorry, Kenzie, for cutting you off. If I did again, Sasa boom boom boom. Johnny's talking a lot.
No, it's okay. Don't worry about it. John,
that's what we're here to do is talk.
if we just sat,
Shh, John. Shh.
if we
Oh,
just sat, in
I'm
silence, if we just sat in silence, it'd be a boring watching.
Say it like Peter Baelish, Johnny, please.
John, it's time for you to take your stance. Speak right after Sasa. Sansa, I did love your mother. I do love hot pie. Frey toenail is delicious. And I will take you on a boat, far, far away from here, where I can paint a portrait of you and kiss your toenails. Can I have the clippings, Sansa?
For what? But
That's all I got. I can't with a straight.
That was amazing. Oh my gosh. So when I do my playlist for I think it's this season. Yeah, I might have to do "I'm on a Boat" for the episode where Sansa gets away, just because of you, Johnny. I'm on a boat.
would be episode 3 then is when she escapes. There you go.
Sasuke says, "Who knew Littlefinger had an extreme foot fetish?" Bobby said, "Johnny be creepy."
There you go. But before Sasuke, I guess this was for the Hound goes hot, hot, hot. Also, the Hound, Nancy T's favorite character. Johnny did a stream on that a while ago, so check that out if you haven't. Go ahead. As I ramble again.
I think we're all rambling a bit tonight. It makes it more fun that way. Yeah. I mean, you know, I love all things Arya. Arya's one of my 2 favorite characters on this show, and her both of her scenes here are awesome. I mean, I think it shows her character development, and I mean, you got to throw it out to Maisie Williams because the look in her eyes when Sandor recognizes her is just so like, oh shit, like it's just well done. She's like, oh shit. And yeah, but this sets up for, as Kenzie put it quite well, the buddy cop uh, thing we're gonna have here shortly. I
Arguably Arya's father figure, like main father figure.
Like
Uh,
almost like a cool uncle slash stepdad slash I don't know at this point. Sorry, I cut you off again, Johnny.
That's a Funkle, you stock bitch. No, I can't do a hound, but still, just seeing this face up on the screen with you got it there. I, no, I love this. The hound's dejected. He doesn't really have anything at this point. I think in the books, he's out of money. He's just trying to get away, looking for any opportunity. Uh, it's he taunts them from the beginning, which is pretty funny. But I just love how Arya takes a sword. Really, just wants to fight Thoros, prove him wrong, and he does his little dance and makes a fool of her. And Arya really doesn't like that. But to your point, yeah, Gendry's just all up in it, telling him his whole story, and that's kind of Gendry's thing, right? Davos tells him to keep his mouth shut, and the first thing he does is tell Jon who he is and everything about him, and when he took a shit. So Gendry just can't keep his mouth shut. I don't know how he lived as long as he has, but he is definitely a blabbermouth for sure. Does she real? No, she
I
doesn't
want
realize that these are Ned's men yet.
I want to play poker with Gendry. Like I would love for him to be sitting at my table.
Yeah. We could run get me a beer too from the store.
Yeah. The Flash.
I'd have it in like 3 minutes.
Yeah. The Flash reincarnated.
No, I want Gendry sitting at the poker table. That'd be definitely good. The young man who plays Hot Pie, like he's a minor character. He's like a laugh at character, but every scene he's in this series, and this is another one. Like it's spot on. Like that was exactly how I pictured the character before I watched it.
Yeah.
And he knows you got to brown the butter. Like you got to brown the butter when you make a pie.
Mm-hmm.
Which I forgot to do.
You forgot to do that. Once you made the Frey pie. Our next, I guess, because this is all, I guess, still in the Riverlands, we have Jaime and Brienne going through all the different possible ways to get to Catelyn Stark. No, not to Catelyn Stark, to, I guess, King's Landing or wherever they're going. I can't remember now at this point. Yeah, they're going. Yeah, they talk about Catelyn Stark. They talk about the journey, the Stark daughters, and how pretty much she came to be Catelyn Stark's bodyguard or servant. And they also talk about her relationship with Renly, which is kind of like a soft spot for Brienne. And
yeah, it really harkens to one. Jaime's trying to find out anything he can about Brienne and poke the bear, pun intended, the bear and the maiden fair. And I think he's also enamored with Brienne. He's never seen anything like Brienne. He's seen her fight. He's seen her kill 3 Stark men like it was just cutting some butter and putting it on some bread. And, he's actually trying to give her good advice. He tells her not to let the farmer go, that he's going to tell on them. And Brienne... to her folly is too good natured and believes the best in everyone, and this is what her path throughout the show is, finding out that life isn't that black and white. She thinks people are either good or evil, and it's just not the case. This farmer's going to give them up for the money because he's poor. You can use it. There's many different reasons. Should she have killed him? I don't know. She could have at least tied him up somewhere. Or did something. But she's not that type of person, even if, maybe in the long run she'll end up that way. I think in the book she's going to end up a really hardened individual if she lives, which I think she is going to live at least through wins. And it really shows here too that she's very good at swordplay. I mean, Jamie is nothing but sinew and bone. His hands are tied, but she pretty much mops the floor with him. Now, could she beat Jamie at his full potential? No. But this just does show you how good Brienne is. Because when Jamie's fighting for his life, he does still have his adrenaline rush, just not as if he's fighting. He feels awful when he's fighting. He just can't fight as well as usual. And they both get a nasty cut in the books, if I'm not mistaken. And it's a much better fight in the books too. And I don't know. I like this, and I like that Brienne's honor comes back to bite her in the ass. It's a lot like what happens to Ned, and you just in this world you can't do that. You have to live a little bit in the gray area. That's a lot of what that feather is about, I think too. Lyanna's feather has many meanings, but I am rambling like a SOB. Go ahead.
I just okay. Don't get me wrong. I love Brienne. I love Brienne. She's one of my top characters. But this was the point where I really started to like Jaime Lannister. If I were in his situation, I bloody guarantee you I would have acted the exact same way. The exact same way. I would have just been a smartass, try and piss you off, try and get under your skin, because that's going to put you off your guard. Like, this is when I realized Jaime's a lot smarter than he lets himself come across as. Also, what is it? I wrote it down.
Can I throw in real quick? Sasuke says in the books, don't they make her seem a bit dumb because she's like 19? Yeah, she mirrors Sir Duncan the Tall like perfectly. She's young, naive. Even though she does witness the death of someone that she's very close to, the same way Dunk did, it still doesn't phase her in her honor until later when they have to go through many trials and tribulations and pay the price for not telling a lie, so to speak. I can't put it. I don't know what the words are, but go ahead, John.
Oh, no. The other thing was, but you also really get to see the character of the character because, like, he's jibing her about Renly and all that stuff. And then, when he sees, like, he really hit home and he kind of feels bad about it. And he's like, no, okay, so he was gay, whatever. You don't get to choose who you love. Like, I think that line defines Jaime, like, as a character. I think if you're going to describe Jaime Lannister from the beginning of his story arc to the end of his story arc, which we're going to see next season, you don't get to decide who you love. And I mean, for me, that was like a really intense moment. It really defines his character. It gives him a third dimension, and before that, you only had two.
Yeah. Yeah, very true. And we kind of leave the episode, even though we're not finished yet, we leave the episode with the arrival of who we now know as Locke, and or does he say his name? I can't remember, but Locke, and pretty much now that these two have been captured and that they're going to Harrenhal, I believe, to have some fun capture times with the Boltons for a little bit. And I think it may be next episode where he gets his hand chopped off. I can't remember, but a chopping is coming for Jaime Lannister, and that's all I wanted to add was just we get the
Vargo Hope, best decision maker or bestest decision maker?
Vargo Holt is the best decision maker ever. I have no tongue.
What?
If you,
Vargo
That's what
Hope,
it sounds like in the book.
He sounds like this when he talks.
Yeah.
I think it would be great to hire Vargo Hope to work for a telemarketing company.
Oh my god.
Hi, I'm calling from Soundgrid Direct, and I just wanted to tell you about the skill that we're having today.
Also, I have your daughter's hand in the box. I will return it if you buy this gift. It will be added for free. I mean, I think, I can't remember if he's like missing a piece of his tongue or has something's wrong with his mouth. But I can't.
If anybody
remember
out there in the
what it
chat
is.
has a lisping speech impediment, I'm very sorry. But
Or people
It's
Yeah,
portrayed that way in the book, like
I
hardcore.
think
and
we're
they
gonna
make
run
fun of
with
him.
this.
Oh my god.
Because I
Yeah.
think it's something to do with like a piece of his tongue got cut off or something. I can't remember. It's not like
A lisp.
no, he does.
Man, Sasuke, do you want me to say that in the Vargo Hope voice? Because I will. I totally will.
Yeah, Vargo Hope's dating profile.
Vargo Hope, the coolest man from Kohor.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, you get
Yeah, I think the mountain does feed him his arms. Set to Shayna's secret. Oh, the book's so crazy.
Vargo sandwich.
Yeah, but now we have I don't think Locke was. I think Locke only showed up like once in this show so far. So to see him is kind of funny. But Jaime Lannister said something about like, not very fun. They're like basically talking about Bolton family traditions. Like he doesn't want to partake in Bolton family traditions, but yeah, kind of funny. Anyway.
Tell us about lemon cakes.
Oh yeah, so going from one of the Stark from the Stark supporters to one of the Stark daughters, we have Sansa in her room with Shay, and they're talking about about the events of the last episode where Sansa was like they're talking about Baelish and how pretty much if Baelish tries to pull anything on Sansa, that Shay will basically give him a shiv or two, pretty much. And then after she has gotten, I guess, ready for the day, Loras comes and is like, I'll take you to go see my grandma. It's like meeting the family, but you're not even together, which is kind of funny.
Can I just say Shay is very confident in her close combative skills? I would say too confident.
Yeah, you would think that she's just she's like, I can take down Stannis and I can take down Peter Baelish. Like, this is kind of funny. And they're walking through the gardens, and she says that the first time that they met was at the hands tourney when when he gave her his favor, and yada yada yada, making small talk, and then they pass off. Loras passes off Sansa to Marjorie, which BBM has to correct me if he ever watches this. But I believe this is out of all of the Game of Thrones outfits that Marjorie wears, this is her outfit on her Funko Pop, which is kind of cool. And they go and meet everyone's favorite old lady on this show, Olenna Tyrell. And she is badass, as always. And
Still
talk
upset
about-
left and right, aren't there?
left and right. Oh, man. And they talk about Joffrey and over lemon cakes, which actually Sophie Turner in like the commentary, I think it was for season 4 when she's sitting with Lysa, and she's feeding her lemon cakes to try and make her feel comfortable. She actually admits that she hates lemon cakes and all of that. So when she had to sit on set and stuff her face with lemon cakes, it was like her least favorite time acting. She'd like only take small bites to make it look like she was eating them, but not, which is kind of funny. So let's talk about crazy grandma or very manipulative grandma and the granddaughter and all that. Thoughts.
I loved it quickly. I would say that it's hilarious that Loris completely forgot he gave her the rose at the tourney. Her daftness is apropos for her character. She's still learning. She gets the blunt force trauma that is Lady Olenna Tyrell, whom I adore. My gosh, I love this woman. And if you haven't seen her pics, that is a beautiful woman. She was gorgeous in her day. Oh my goodness. She, I don't think they could have found a better actor to portray her. She was spot on with the wit and just get right to the point. Talk about the Lord Oath of Highgarden. I love that. John, I kind of let you take it a little deeper from here since I've been talking a lot first.
Oh, okay. Thank you for leaving this one to me because oh my gosh, I have a crush on Olenna Tyrell. Like, yeah, when she was in the Avengers back in the '60s, like, yes, she was absolutely beautiful. But even right now, I'd call her up and say, "Hey, you want to get hitched?" Like,
Dame.
oh, such a badass. I mean, yeah, dame. That's a damn good word. Oh, it the introduction of this character because her character could have been done very poorly, and I think they cast it so well, and also casting Natalie Dormer for Marjorie Tyrell. I think she really pulls it off. Like, I mean, my family's the Tyrells, so we're growing strong. That's what we do. But I
didn't think they
Oh,
took kindly to vampires over there.
Highgarden and vampires. I don't
Look
know
how
what that
flushed I am. Look how flushed I am today. I don't think I'm a vampire. Even you said I look like I've finally got some sleep.
Oh, yes, that's what a good foundation and some blush can do.
was. um,
But
Damn.
no, this whole part is some of my favorite stuff. I think all the acting is brilliant. Sophie Turner pulls off the I'm scared, but I want to tell, but I'm scared, but I want to tell, but like so well. Also, if anybody's a South Park fan, all the little walks in the garden, I mean, that's what alludes to this. If anybody's seen the Game of Thrones episodes of South Park, like the little walks and talks in the garden. Oh, it just I thought everything about that. Like I told you before, this is one of my favorite episodes of the entire series. And yes, Sasuke, she was a Bond girl. You're correct. Oh gosh, which movie was that? I'll give you 5
Was it
Cylons if
Octopussy?
anyone- No, it
What?
wasn't Octopussy. It was
Haha, I just had to say that.
But I'll give 5 Cylons to anybody who can answer which Bond movie she was in.
Nobody knows what the fuck a Cylon is worth, man. I don't. You've got to establish
You gotta
some
get, like,
kind
gold
of
dragons or
system here.
something.
I
Okay,
mean, gold dragons.
John-
What are they gonna do with it?
John, you and I are worth everything, so Cylons are pretty valuable.
Oh,
You know, we
That's
do when
true.
we go to con. You want to get a.
And maybe Kenzie hasn't been revealed yet, but we all think she's a Cylon.
You want to get a Centurion tattoo on her ass cheek?
I won't get one on my ass cheek, but I would totally get a Centurion tattoo
Yeah, that would be pretty badass.
number
at
12.
con. Yeah, absolutely. I'm game.
Yeah, I'll dress up as Baltar, and I'll just have the crazy eyes the whole time.
I kind of
Nice.
extra thought about this episode or this scene.
Sorry, Kenzie.
Oh no, no, it's okay. This sequence is just yes, Dame Diana Rigg when she was a youngster looked pretty much exactly like what Natalie Dormer looks like now, or they just look related, which is absolutely crazy. So HBO, good job on that casting, and just Olenna Tyrell in general, like favorite grandmother, as my tagline says for this episode. Olenna Tyrell is my spirit animal, and she kind of almost outsasses the sassiest of Sansa, so which is kind of a funny thing, and yeah, this sets up a really good character arc for a really great woman who happens to be old, and she doesn't, like, she's not a grandma who sits meekly in the corner. Like, she goes full front, full force, and it's awesome. And yeah, Sasuke says that pretty much Dame Diana Rigg is still hot for her age.
Oh yeah, and
Oh, that party I was talking about earlier. Like, yeah, I want Diana Rigg or Olenna Tyrell or to hang out there too. Like,
it's perfect.
That would be just a great night.
It is a perfect segue to Joffrey striking his crossbow. You know.
So,
Oh well, first Joffrey has to put on his clothes.
yeah, Joffrey has to get dressed.
Yeah, he's one of those
Mommy.
guys that he has sex fully clothed as well. I just have to throw that out there.
If he ever got to that point, because you know he dies a virgin, which it's just kind of funny.
I mean, he had plenty of air and opportunity, so I think, yeah, he just does it through the clothes, man. You know. It's like,
Are you knocking people who spend a lot of time and money on their clothes? I mean, seriously, I thought we were friends here.
Oh man.
Nah, man, you know, I just wear the sweatpants and t-shirts everywhere I fucking go. I hate myself. Anyways, the self-loathing in Los Alabama has got to stop.
God.
I'm sorry. I'm fucking being. It's been a long day. I love y'all.
Oh no, it's okay. So in this.
Sorry,
kind of-
Sansa.
It's okay. It's okay, Baelish. In this quick scene that we have, Cersei and Joffrey kind of discuss the clothes and the fabrics of the wedding, because I think Joffrey has like a sample of fabric, and Cersei goes, "That's enough clothes for Marjorie Tyrell to wear," and they kind of talk about her past and stuff, including like Renly and Renly's marriage, and that Joffrey goes on the lines of, "That's what intelligent do is what they're told," and stuff. So Joffrey's seen as a little crazy man, and then we see him next with Marjorie, and Marjorie's kind of come to him in his rooms. And
Can I say that little piece of fabric's meant to cover Marjorie? I think she makes it into a dress later in the season, according to Cersei. Sorry.
Yeah. okay. And he's kind of, like you said, stroking his crossbow at this point. And she's come in one of her more, I would say, tame outfits. She's mostly covered, which is like, unlike to Cersei accounts, she's very revealing. And yeah, they talk about how pretty much Renly never wanted to have sex with her until one night in a drunken comment, he basically wanted to have gay sex, but with a straight woman. So it's the best I can put it.
Say it, Mackenzie. Say it. Come on.
That would be called anal penetration. There's a few. You could go with a type of sodomy. You could throw it in there. I mean, there's a few fun adjectives and superlatives you could use to describe that situation.
I'm sorry, Mackenzie. I just have this obsession with making you say awful things. I'm very sorry. It makes me a horrible person.
The brown-eyed bandit, just. But she played it off really a bunch here.
Yeah.
She
Taking
was
the boat
cool
up
with
Persian
it.
Canal.
This is normal in Game of Thrones land. This is just normal throughout history. Throughout history, homosexuality it's normal. You find it in nature. Religion goes back and forth with it. That's when a real problem arose with it. But we see the main reason is Marjorie's reading Joffrey here. She's reading him as a person and knows he's not cool with it. And she's a good judge of character and has seemingly been learning from her grandmother an awful lot, especially at her age. She seems wise beyond her years, and that's one thing I can say is great about Marjorie, even though I hate how she smirks all the time. It bothers me as much as it bothers Cersei, but you can see how, like the way she portrays the character, you can see how her mind is working, and I love that.
Yeah, and I think it's not obvious. It wasn't obviously this episode, but I think it's another episode where Marjorie and Olenna talk about how Olenna became Lady of Highgarden is because she basically slept her way there, which is kind of funny. So Marjorie knows some tactics and to get how to slide her way into being not only Lady of Highgarden, or yes, Lady of Highgarden, but also the Queen. And it's kind of funny. And there you go, Johnny. There's the stroke. They're both now stroking the crossbow, and yeah, it's just
Closest
kinda...
Joffrey ever gets. Poor fella. That would have just called. Tyrion was right. We don't know what Joffrey did that night during the beating. I think he just. I don't know. That is crazy.
Sorry, I'm hearing Chris Squire right now.
I do feel like he was scared. I do feel like Joffrey was scared to have sex. He was scared of a lot of things. And what a lot of things he was afraid of, he would cast hate and fear and anger toward it. So, just like he did with the hookers. And I feel like he feels something for Marjorie that he hasn't felt, I guess, because of how she's playing him like a fiddle. But you can tell he's still not comfortable with it. He's more comfortable with death.
Yeah.
But that's my main take on all of it. And I'll shut the hell up because I was told to leave Sasabi.
Yeah, Attila says.
I think I was the one who was being told to leave Sasabi because
no, it says you both.
I always try and get Sasa to say bad things and never succeeds.
The power of Sasha's names on here.
Exactly. Joffrey, I mean, I have no psychology degree or anything like that, but he's a bookcase sociopath.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes into it like yeah, he's scared of sex. I mean, I yeah, I think it's like pretty much given it gives you know, such a portrayal of his character. But on the same note, the way she like turns him to another point of discussion is like, oh, hey, that's your crossbow. Let me talk. Like, oh, show me how it works. Like, it.
I'm sorry, except to Shayna's secrets. Joffrey seems like he might disgust himself when he jerks it. Ha! I just had to throw that out there because that is probably a true statement. And Seth to bring in the heat. Literally.
I
Yeah. So, yeah, they're just Marjorie just
Kendi says
respect
so.
and yeah, Marjorie does her little thing of trying to seduce, but she doesn't do it too much.
no, because she's good at it.
Mm-hmm.
You do it too much, it's like not interesting. Like then you're just
Yeah.
throwing yourself at somebody. It's like, okay, yeah. Anyway. By the way,
Yeah.
Sophie Hibble has a really good point. Jeffrey is straight up insane, but I have to say he's so fun to watch. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely agreed.
Fantastic. Jack Gleason. Fantastic.
Jack Gleason's
actor.
freaking brilliant.
Uh,
This
I
entire
agree,
show is
Sophie.
cast so well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's not really any actors that you're just like, why, or like, and like in terms of like how they act and a lot. But
Unless you're a sand snake.
yes, that's about it. The last scene that we have to talk about today happens to involve Sansa, and it's with Tyrion, and it's Tyrion and Shay in his room talking about Sansa and having to protect her, but then also Tyrion talking about how now that she's basically been discarded by the Lannisters, aka Lannister garbage, that she can now pretty much marry whoever is sent to marry her instead of the other way around. And Shay kind of gets offended when Tyrion says that Sansa's pretty, in lamest terms. But what do you think?
It makes me wonder. Oh, you love her, don't you? This and that. Shay is jealous of Sansa, not the person, but of what she has and what she's grown up with. Even though she seems to sympathize with Sansa, I I think she knows how much of a better candidate for a marriage and a couple that Sansa is, and it's her own insecurities uh, projecting here. And also, if she is Tywin's spy at this point, this would help a little bit with the match, feeling out Tyrion and whatnot. But I don't know. I just really think it's her own insecurities projecting because the whole thing with Roz as well. Oh, you know Roz? How do you know her? And it's like, Shay, you're a whore. You tell him you're a whore. You you guys discuss this all the time, but she goes back and forth. She's playing head games with him, but I don't know how deliberate it is. I think she possibly does. In the show, for sure, she feels something for Tyrion. They played it that way. But it's hard to tell with Shay sometimes. Right here, I feel like at this point she's was happy with her bliss, and now she feels like it's starting to get rocked. He's trying to seemingly hide her more, and she's wanting to be more out in the open. And yeah, I feel like she's got this whole thing. If he really loved me, he wouldn't be ashamed of me. She possibly doesn't know who Tywin really is, but it makes no sense if she knows Stannis so well from the last episode. So I don't know. Shay's character throws me off in this. But I'm done rambling for now because, yeah, it's just her insecurities projecting, basically. And the whole protecting Sansa from Baelish, you know, she already basically has that covered.
Yeah, she kind of made that idolized threat already, but yeah. You can kind of see, I guess, the tenderness in a sense that Baelish, Jesus, I can't think today. Tyrion has for Sansa, and that she, even though everybody else in the world thinks that, or out of show verse, like in the community thinks that she's like this crazy person. Here we go, Sansa defending her namesake almost. But that Tyrion has this, like, sees almost the good in Sansa, and it's kind of played out with the rest of this season and into season 4 for those 2 episodes, and even in season 7, like, he knows who Sansa is and what her character and her journey is like in a sense. So I feel like they may not obviously put them together at the end, but I feel like he'll be more very sympathetic to her even now, that she is where she is now in her position and standing. And yeah, that'd be kind of an interesting thing, is that if Shay kind of was the one that was like more of this, not necessarily that Tywin was like, oh, based off of the Whore's orders that I'll just put my son with Sansa, but that almost is just, I guess, invoking these, I guess, feelings that Tyrion has in a sense. Not cool, but yeah, because there is that creepy factor, from what I remember in the books, with Tyrion and Sansa a little bit. But yes, now I start to ramble. John,
It's
Shay,
okay on your own show.
yeah, Shay, Tyrion, what do you, and sort of Sansa, what do you think?
You can ramble on your own show. That's your right. It's like
Parrot.
the right of the hostess. You can ramble all you want. But okay, so this episode, I mean, the storyline's really difficult for me to follow, and not like it's difficult intellectually, but emotionally, because at the one point she's like really trying to be the like mama bear for Sansa. Like, hey, Littlefinger, don't trust him. But then it comes in and she's doing her same stupid Shay bullshit later. It, you know, oh, well, like, look, bitch, I'm trying to keep you from getting killed. Like, can you please just, like, tone it down a little bit and maybe, oh, but blah, 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 blah. I mean, this is a character that really divides me emotionally a lot, because she has those moments, like, I mean, you can tell in that scene at the beginning of the episode, like, she's really trying to protect Sansa. But then later she's like doing the same stupid, oh, but Lord, I want my, I
Was it
finding
her
her,
maybe trying to lead Tyrion into a trap of Tywin proclaiming his love for a whore? And then Tywin can somehow punish Tyrion for this? Something
yeah,
that's in my head.
I could totally see it that way. You know, she does something to like make you kind of want to like her, and then just like totally takes it away. It's like having that carpet pulled out from under your feet over and over and over again. And Yeah, it's kind of why I got a visceral joy, you know, in the next season watching her get strangled because, well,
He's
you
hands
know,
of gold.
Yeah,
just kind
hands
of
of
tired
gold.
of her.
Yeah, which won't be far from now, actually. When we talk about it. Um, that's all for what happens in the episode. So, I guess final ratings, final thoughts, and where everyone who doesn't know where they can find you.
Oh, goodness gracious, great balls of fire. Uh, final rating. Ooh, I'm giving
Oh, are you? I think you're breaking up there, John.
what's that? Am I breaking up? Anyways, I'm back, hopefully.
No, you're.
So,
Yeah, you're
am I breaking up?
on my end. You are. I don't know about anybody
Yeah,
else.
I'm getting ribbage on too.
Bobby
Hold
calls
on
you a
just a second.
Cylon.
What's up now? Is that better?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay, lowered my bandwidth. I've been on a stream now for like 6 hours, so it's all good. That's probably what's going on. My internet's freaking out. But I straight up give this 9.5 dark turds. We get the introduction of Mira and Jojen, uh, a little bit more of the Green Dream and Three-Eyed Raven factor. Uh, I, hmm, I, I really like the interaction we got with the Tyrells. Alana Tyrell was introduced. I mean, we had so many nice introductions into this show. Thoris Amir was reintroduced, and right, and we got to see the final showdown. Not the final showdown, but a little hand-to-hand combat between Bryn and Jamie, and some nice banter back and forth between everyone. And Shay had a good episode. So yeah, definitely 9.5 dark turds. I am Johnny B. Crazy. You can catch me and Kenzie and Justin Thomas from Top Shelf Fandom tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern. Reaction to the newest episode of Vikings, Balder, which is season 5, episode 18. Then Friday we have the Cylon Johns and Jills, which we're gonna start calling it. And we're doing a double episode. It's going to be Scattered and Valley of Darkness at 9 p.m. Eastern. Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern, with this same awesome panel right here on my channel, Fire and Blood, chapters 8 and 9.
Mm-hmm.
8 and 9. Bunch of Jaehaerys, Alysanne, Rogar, Alyssa, Rhaena Targaryen, dragons everywhere, courtly intrigue. Come check it out. If I haven't sold myself well enough, please hit that dang like button. Share this out. Subscribe to Mackenzie's channel because she's freaking awesome. And because I'm on here all the time. Why not? Go check out my channel too and everyone else who's in the comments. And I think that's all I got to plug right now. Also, we're doing a male character breakdown Monday because I already promised it to the people. So we will be talking about the Red Priestess herself. Show only to make it less complicated. Plus, we don't get a lot about her in the books anyway. I'm done. Thank you so much, Sasa, for having me on. And John, it's always a pleasure, Robert Smith. Yes. Thank you, my friends. Thank you to everyone in the chat.
John St. Baptiste. You can find me on my channel. 2 videos are coming up tomorrow because this was a little later than I was expecting, which is fine. But I'm going to drop my midweek music ear candy and my teaser tomorrow. My channel's all about music, but I do things. This poor woman invites me to come out and spend time with her all the time. I don't know why. I'm a terrible human being, but she apparently enjoys my company for some reason. So does this guy.
That's you assuming a whole lot right there.
Oh no, they don't enjoy my company. I'm just charming. I'm gonna give this episode. Okay, so this episode would have been a 10,
Mm-hmm.
and then just because of Elena Tyrell, it would have been 10.5. But I have to subtract a little bit because of the lack of the oath, because I think that the Reed oath is so cool.
Good point.
So I'm gonna drop a 9.75 on this. 9.75 Joffrey crossbow strokes.
Yes.
Not
Oh.
quite enough to get the job done, but enough to give you blue balls.
You mean hurt stones, as Eager likes to say.
Or the Greystones, as they're called in Westeros.
I'll just read out some of our friends' ratings for this episode. So Attila Angel gives this episode 9.5 on the Rickon scale, and Sasuke gives us 9 out of 10 hot pies. For me, I give this episode, I would say, a 9.5. 9.5 Olena remarks and or insults that are coded as insults, and that you can find me everywhere where Johnny has said, pretty much. And obviously, we'll be doing more of season 3, barreling towards season 7, into the end of season 7, into season 8. So we'll probably do one more this week / this weekend, and then continue on.
Do you want, if the schedule works out, we can do it Saturday after or Sunday. We'll see when, try to find out when Drinks and Nose is coming on.
I appreciate that, Kenzie. You've lit a match under my ass because I'm trying to keep my season playlists up with your seasons, and like now you've really lit a match. Like I don't have 10 weeks to like put this together. Like I gotta come up with it. Like oh shit right away. Like oh, I've got a week to do this. I actually have to like work and like think and. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
We should probably be finished season 3 by late January into early February. Yeah, we'll be finished within the next week or so, actually. Yeah, scheduling. Anyway, yeah, so regardless of whenever it comes out, the next episode that we're talking about is episode 3, Walk of Punishment. So this is a relatively Danny-filled episode, if memory serves me correctly, and I think this is when she gets the Unsullied. I'm not sure. If not, it's episode 4 that she gets the Unsullied, but among other things, stuff happens. Because stuff always happens. The TV show. Anyway, yeah, you can find me on all of those places, everywhere and anywhere. And yes, we'll have. Oh, and Bobby gives her rating of 9 out of 10 Sandor snarky snippets. and then
That's okay, bumped it
up to 10 out of 10 because there was no Danny in this episode, which we didn't really talk about. But there was no Danny in this episode because it saved her all for next week. But yeah, with that, I think we're finished for tonight. Thank you so much, Johnny, for coming on, because you basically did back-to-back live streams, which I know is might be a slight struggle, but you did back-to-back live streams, which is awesome. And
Thank you.
Very, very appreciative. And for John, thank you for popping on last minute, because it's always great to add in the extra bit of conversation and the extra bit of Catelyn hate, because we all love it. And with that, we will see you all some point this week again. But bye, everyone.